And here we are for stage 6 of the Santos Tour Down Under, Adelaide to Adelaide. Nice little city loop. It is the simplest 90 kilometers you will ever do. This had an awful crash in it towards the back end of the race. It is not fun. All we have to do to succeed today is keep Plappy out of trouble, which we are going to do our absolute best at. Through this one, it's a short stage. I'll kind of run through what I thought of the real life race, um, and what I think it will lead to in the future. Anyway, we'll see you on the start line. And here we go. I was going to let it play through, but I just saw this. Ochre jersey, the Australian champs. It's just a beautiful sight to have right up the front. And if I'd have caught it early enough, we'd have caught Schmid next to them. It's amazing what kind of happens. Why is that not doing the button I wanted to do? I've forgotten how to do what I wanted. That's okay. Um, but yeah, it's just wonderful seeing that um, two leaders plus the Australian champion in Australia. It's the kind of thing Jayco would love to get, and the sponsors would absolutely love. Van Baal going again. He would be up there for like most combative, as whatever they say. Um, Essentially, everybody is going to be working with Clappy. They're all just going to follow. He's going to take refuge right at the front. And that is how we're going to do things for this stage. We are going to just chill out. Dover is going to do the job. I know he's the champion, but he is also, it's great to have these two next to each other for publicity. They're all going to follow. Schmid is going to get up to the front as well. You want to show off that jersey when you have it. And Stewart is just going to do the protection of that. Could go for the sprint with him. I don't think I will. It would be all about Plappy today. Parading him through the streets of Adelaide as the kind of champion of Australia. Obviously, the Cadell Everman's road race is going to be soon, and that's going to be the same kind of riders. I can't imagine them flying a whole new set of riders out to Oz for the sake of it. Usually there's a few changes, but I imagine the setup list will be relatively similar. Anyway, as we get closer, I will slow us down a little bit just because Van Baal is gotten caught. My thoughts on the Tour Down Under so far, well, not so far, it's over, for this season was honestly a little bit underwhelming. It was, I know there's usually crashes, it's early in the year, but I felt like the teams weren't giving as much as they usually do, which is okay. I get it. It's early in the year. They all have major race objectives. I just think like the optimization of race calendars for people has put teams off really trying in some of the lower caliber races. And especially they see Tour Down Under as this thing they have to go to. I feel, and this is entirely opinion based, but obviously they do have to go. It's a tour. It's a cyanide world, not cyanide, but yeah, it's a world tour race. Um, Cyanide World Tour is the in-game version, but it's a world tour race. Um, and they obviously have to send a team. They usually send like a good rider. But generally there's a lot of teams that just come accepting that not a lot's going to happen. Like Ineos brought Geraint Thomas as he's kind of on his final tour of everything. He didn't lead the team. They kind of lit up the race, which was nice, especially as an Ineos fan. They were a bit more willing, but obviously even Jayco, who would have this as a major sponsor objective, just sat in the group for a lot of the race. The Australia team, who Dover wasn't running for, but had similar jerseys that I couldn't get in this, they lit up the race a lot in the breakaways. The sprint stages were kind of just sprint stages, honestly. I know there's only so much you can do with the flat terrain, but they're not something I typically enjoy either. And it was a lot of sprint races. The climbs didn't do much because they weren't either they weren't close enough to the finish, or they weren't big enough, or whatever it is you want to call it. They just weren't there. Um, Obviously, Welsford had an amazing setup. He had 3 stage wins. It's all you can really ask for from the poor bloke. We're not going to do a thing. We're just going to have the whole team with Plappy here. And he's just going to try and sit the front. That's He's going to sit the front. Durbo is just going to keep him there. Schmidt is obviously just going to keep the front as well, stay up there, and he's going to be protected by Stewart still. Yeah, it was just one of those. Like, how can we make it different? Can we put those climbs closer to the finish? Can we find another climb like Mount Lofty to light the race up? Can we do something more exciting? I think it's as much on the organizers as it is the riders for not riding the way that's particularly entertaining. Obviously, Romo took a flyer, and then there wasn't too much of a chase from behind. There's just not a whole lot of care from what I see. Which, I mean, it's not exactly the most prestigious thing. It's a World Tour win, but it's one of the weaker World Tour wins to get. So I completely get it from both points of view. It's just not the funnest thing to watch. And this one, obviously, that climb up Wollonga Hill was good, but it's always good. That's the point of it. It all comes down to that 10-minute period at the top of Wollonga Hill, who's going to get there first. And I'm not sure if I'm sick of it or not yet. Like, I can't imagine how it used to be with just Richie winning it every time. But yeah, it's just something I'd like to see, something different. Like, Wollonga Hill has to be there. At this point, it's just a thing. Like, you kind of have to put Wollonga Hill in, and I completely respect that. There's not a whole lot of options for what you can do, but just touring the beautiful countryside like for 4 of the 6 stages we have is not ideal. It's like, can you put a team time trial in? Can you put something in that makes us different from the other World Tour races? And who's gonna get it? TTT. Oh, he does get it. Tim Thorn Totenberg ahead of Coquard. Corbin Strong gets 4th. No Welsford again. I'm just going to assume they weren't riding for him, because that is next level. Looking at these, Welsford did nothing the whole time, unlike in real life where he got 3 stage wins. Obviously, in real life, on the stage before, Jonathan Narvaez took out the general, but in this one, Lucas Plapp takes the GC. Corbin Strong takes the points jersey comfortably ahead of Coquard, who gets a fair few points, but Strong was just too good. Mountain, we got a 1-2 as well. Young Riders, we obviously won. The sprinter, Tim Thorn Teutenberg, does extremely well. No good young climber really got the opportunity. Oscar Onley had an underwhelming tour on game, but in real life he did alright. He got second on one of the stages. For being 22 and still kind of working his way up, they will absolutely take that. Morrow had an underwhelming one. I believe he got some sort of high finish, maybe a top 10 on one of the stages. But yeah, my opinion on the tour was just, it was kind of underwhelming for me. Big standout, obviously, you gotta use Welsford. He was exceptional the whole way through. You just had confidence every stage he was going to pull something out. Bauhaus will be a bit disappointed not getting the stage win. Coquard will be ecstatic in getting a stage win. Ineos will be underwhelmed with the amount of effort they put in, especially with Sheffield on that stage where they really rode for him and he didn't produce any goods. On the sprint stages, they knew they were just kind of in it to put someone up there. Ben Swift will be annoyed with himself after that. I think it was stage 1 or 2 where he put himself in a great position and just didn't sprint particularly well, but it's the nature of his age, I guess, and his abilities as a rider nowadays. No particular young standouts. Romo, Oliver, or something close to that. Um, he will walk away with that with his head held high. He'll be annoyed that he attacked and didn't follow, and he probably could have finished that race with the ochre jersey. But other than that, it was a pretty standard. No one particularly took the eye. It was a lot of the usual suspects. Samuel Watson from Ineos, he took my eye, but that's more because I'm an Ineos fan rather than him doing anything crazy. And I think I just noticed him because it was the first time I'd seen him. But yeah, if you want my opinions on anything else, I will be back soon with, I believe it's the Sharjah tour. It's either the Sharjah tour or the Alula tour. I can't remember if it switched from one to the other, I think. Um, but anyway, next one, you'll see. It'll be fun. But either way, I will see you soon.